Alright, are you looking for a laptop for gaming or work but don't know which one to get for a budget? Well, what's up guys, Prodigy here, and I'm presenting you the top 5 budget laptops under $500. And just for a disclaimer, I do not own any of these laptops as they are all picked up based on my opinion, research, and on the best value for your money. Also, keep in mind that these budget laptops are not going to drive heavy games like Cyberpunk, but you will be able to play some lightweight games but on low to medium settings. So if you do have a bigger budget, I'll be sure to link some alternatives down below. Now for our first laptop, we got the Asus VivoBook F515, which will cost you about $370 right now on Amazon. And just an FYI, this is the cheapest laptop on the list, and it's probably the cheapest laptop I would even recommend. It has a 15.6-inch 1080p display, uses a 10th gen i3 CPU, 4GB of DDR4 RAM, and finally a 128GB NVMe. Now just a reminder, most games usually recommend 8GB of RAM at the minimum. So with 4GB, you're most likely not going to try gaming much on this laptop unless it's a fairly light game like Among Us. But at the same time, you do gotta consider that this VivoBook is quite affordable and is one of the best laptops at its price. And if you're curious, the average battery life is about 7.5 hours, but will vary depending on the task. It also has plenty of connectivity options, including 2 USB Type A and a USB Type C port, an HDMI port, and finally a micro SD card reader. Now with all that in mind, the F515 is an alright looking laptop for the price, but you can't really expect the performance to be crazy good, especially for gaming with 4GB of RAM. But if you're looking for a cheap laptop to maybe do some schoolwork, watch some videos, or even go on Discord, then this laptop might work out for you. And just for a disclaimer, this is the only laptop on the list that has 4GB of RAM, as I wanted to find a cheap option for those with a lower budget. But if you have a higher budget, I'll be sure to link some links down below to some better VivoBooks and other laptops down below. Now if you have a higher budget, then you should probably check out the Lenovo IdeaPad 3, which you can find going for about $475. Now similar to the last laptop, it has a 15.6-inch 1080p display, uses the same 10th gen i3 CPU, but instead of 4GB, we get 8GB of DDR4 RAM that can be expanded, and we get an upgrade to a 256GB SSD. Now besides the RAM and storage upgrade compared to the last laptop, the specs are kinda similar, but the IdeaPad 3 also comes with Bluetooth 5.0 and includes 2 USB 3.0 ports unlike the VivoBook. Now if you get this laptop, yes, you'll have a better experience playing games that require 8GB of RAM, but you still gotta keep in mind that this still uses the integrated Intel graphics. So if you do try to game with this, you're most likely gonna be playing on low settings unless the game requires low specs. And if you're curious, this laptop has a battery life of up to 7 hours, which is gonna be pretty common for most other laptops on this list. But overall, I would recommend getting this laptop over the previous one, as it does come with more RAM, more storage, and added features like Bluetooth 5.0. Moving on, I picked out this Acer Aspire 3, which will cost you about $490 right now on Amazon. It has a 15.6-inch 1080p display, uses a 10th gen i5 CPU, 8GB of DDR4 RAM, and finally a 256GB SSD. So similar to the IdeaPad that I talked about earlier, this laptop has a better CPU as it has double the cores and threads for better performance by 20%. And to add on to that, we get faster RAM with this laptop at 3200 MHz. But besides that, there aren't any other huge differences between this and the previous laptop aside from the better CPU. Now if you had to ask for my personal opinion, I would go for this laptop over the IdeaPad, because even though this Acer laptop is $15 more, it does have a better CPU and faster RAM. And even though 20% better performance doesn't sound like too much to some of you guys, it's actually a fair amount when it comes to these cheap laptops, especially if you want to consider gaming on this, which as we all know, gaming on a cheap laptop is going to be demanding. So even if the performance doesn't sound like too much, it's definitely going to be worth it in the long run. But overall, for an extra $15, I would definitely recommend getting this laptop. Now near the end, I picked up this HP 14 laptop going for $500. Now this laptop has similar specs to the Acer Aspire that I just talked about, but this HP 14 has some upgrades like a Ryzen 5 5500U, which has more cores than the 10th gen i5, has both better single and multi-core performance and a higher clock speed. Along with that, instead of an SSD, the HP 14 has a 256GB NVMe for faster storage use. So for a $10 price increase from the previous laptop, the upgrades that you're going to be getting are definitely going to be worth it. I should also mention that the HP 14 has Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5.0, which will give you a smoother wireless experience with up to 3 times faster file transfer speeds than Wi-Fi 5. And if you're curious on the battery life, you should be happy to know that this will last you up to 9 hours and 45 minutes, so almost 10 hours of battery life. And this HP laptop recharges quickly with HP fast charge technology, taking this device from 0 to 50% charge in 45 minutes. So if battery life is a concern, there's no need to worry here. And there's plenty of connectivity options, including 2 USB Type-A and USB Type-C port, an HDMI port, headphone jack, and finally an SD card reader. But besides all that, this HP 14 laptop is pretty good for its price and could honestly last long term if you decide to upgrade it with more RAM. But you could honestly also do that with all the other laptops on this list. But regardless, the HP 14 is the top choice for me and is probably going to be a top choice for you. And finally, for our last laptop, which is the best one on the list in my opinion, I picked up this Chewy Corebook X going for $500. This laptop has a 14-inch 1440p IPS display for better color reproduction, has an 8th gen i5 with a base clock of 2.3 GHz and a boost clock of 3.8 GHz, 8GB of DDR4 RAM clocked at 2400 MHz, and finally a 512GB SSD with one slot available for NVMe storage, expandable to 1TB. Now, some of you may question on how the 8th gen i5 compares to the 10th gen i5 in the previous laptop. Well, the 10th gen i5 performs better when it comes to single core performance, but to my surprise, not by a drastic amount. And looking online, surprisingly, the 8th gen i5 actually performs better when it comes to multi-core performance, but likewise, not by a huge amount. So with that in mind, they're pretty similar despite the 10th gen being more new. And for the RAM, although it may seem like it's meh, this laptop supports dual channels and can be upgraded to a max of 16GB. So just a reminder, if you're not happy with the RAM in any of these laptops, you can always upgrade the RAM to meet your needs. And if you're curious, they say the max battery life can theoretically run up to 9 hours, but realistically, depending on whatever task you're doing, it's safe to say that you're looking at an average of about 5 hours of hardcore non-stop use, or an average of 7 hours of casual use, as a 1440p display is going to use more energy consumption than a 1080p display. But like I said, this will vary depending on the task. Also, when it comes to connectivity options, this includes one USB 3.0, one USB Type-C port, a headphone jack, and finally a micro SD card reader. So you will be disappointed if you're looking to have an HDMI port, but you will be happy to know that the USB Type-C port can be used as a video output with up to 4K at 60Hz. Now, with all that in mind, I will say that this is the best 1440p laptop I could find at this price point, because finding a good laptop at $500 or less is pretty tough. But then again, you could make a better PC for a similar price. But depending on your situation, you may not be able to use a PC, so this would probably be your next best bet. But overall, for $500, you're getting a pretty good laptop with a nice 1440p IPS display, decent CPU, and optional storage expansion via NVMe. But after going over all that, all I gotta say is that you're gonna get a good deal if you're not looking to break the bank on a good laptop. And if you had to ask for my personal opinion on which laptops I would personally choose, it would be a tie between the HP 14 and the Chewy Corebook, mostly because the HP 14 has the best battery life out of all the laptops with fast charge, but then again, the Chewy Corebook is the only laptop here with a 1440p IPS display, which IPS displays give great color reproduction. But if you don't happen to like any of these options, or if you happen to have a bigger budget, then I'll be sure to include more down below that I didn't talk about in this video, which I did try my best to find these laptops, even though it's pretty tough to find a decent laptop for around $500. But if you guys want me to do another video going over laptops at a higher budget, make sure to drop a like and comment down below. Also, before I end off the video, I do want to mention that since all the laptops are from Amazon, the prices are always subject to change and certain products may run low on stock depending on the time and date. So I would recommend getting whatever items you want as fast as possible for the prices or stocks changes for the worst. But I think that's gonna wrap it up, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If so, drop a like and subscribe for more quality content like this, because I do love making videos like this one. Also, if you guys can, comment down below what you liked or disliked about the laptop choices, and tell me what you changed about them, because I know everyone will have their own ideas and opinions on which one should have been featured. So leave your comments down below, as I want to hear what you guys have to say, and because I do love responding to everyone's comments. Also, guys, I do want to apologize for not uploading for half a year, as I pretty much just needed a break from all of this, but don't worry as I plan to upload more videos soon and I do plan on making some changes to the channel. But don't worry as I still plan on keeping up with the budget content. Also, if you want to see more content from me, I recommend following me on TikTok as I post a fair amount of memes on there and you get to see content that I normally wouldn't post on YouTube. So if you'd like to see some extra content from me, I would highly recommend checking out my TikTok. But anyways guys, thanks for watching and be sure to have notifications on so you won't miss any of my videos. My name's pricey, and as always, stay classy.